it's a very, very secretive area. And you can see, you keep finding these little sites out here. You can just keep finding more and more little sites. And these are all little testing facilities or little launch sites. This is all military, right? This is all military. This whole area is all military. Welcome back to another episode of Aussie Google Earth Explorer. Today's episode, we're going to look at Russian cosmodromes. We're going to do 5. We're going to check out Baikonur it's actually in Kazakhstan, if you can believe that. It's just down here in Kazakhstan. We're going to go to Yasny, Kapustin Yar up there. We're going to go Plesetsk Cosmodrome, and then we're going to fly all the way over here, and we're going to check out Vostochny. It's right near China. Right near China. Actually, you know what? Let's start at Baikonur. This is the oldest in the world. Actually, the oldest in the world. This is in Kazakhstan. So Russia actually they rent this space off the Kazakhs, and they built this thing in 1955. So mate, this thing's old. Baikonur. This is super, super old, and it kind of looks bad. Not gonna lie. I did an episode on American spaceports. They call them cosmodromes in Russia, but they call them spaceports in America. And they kind of this really looks like dilapidated. It looks bad, dude. It looks bad. You can see that there's launch sites here. The upkeep in this area looks kind of terrible. I'm not gonna lie. I was pretty disappointed when I saw this place. But this is really, really active. They do, I think in 2024, they launched 20 different missions from this area in Baikonur. And like you can see that there are still buildings here. And again, these images can be old, right? So it's not always that current. Like this looks current to me. This looks like it's new and being used currently. But man, so much of this stuff, like check this out, man. This just looks like, this is Soviet era, just trash. Here, there's just rubbish everywhere, scorched earth, buildings falling down. Like it's really not. Look at this, dude. Like, what's going on here? I don't know. Just yuck, mate. Yuck. But this is the oldest in the world, built in 1955. Like I said, 70 odd years ago, and it's currently really still in use. So this pumps all the Russian space missions that have people on them. They happen out here. We're going to look at a couple other places in a second. We're going to go to Vostochny. We're going to go to Plesetsk, and those are newer. And they don't look like this. But I just thought we'd kick it off here because you can see this is really Cold War era, World War II era sort of tech. But they kind of still use it, but it doesn't look very good, dude. And man, this is remote, bro. This is so look where we are, dude. Look where we are. We're like smack bang. This is Kazakhstan down here. So we are so far away from anyone. They definitely built this place back in the day to be, pretty obscure, right? Pretty obscure. There's an airport up here I just seen. There's an airport. But this, none of this tech looks very good from Google Earth, bro. None of this tech looks very good. Yuri Gagarin, actually, first man to go to space. His flight took off from Baikonur. So this place, incredibly historic stories come out of here. Unfortunately, I'm not the guy to tell you them because I'm so one-dimensional. I'm just having a little peep on Google Earth here. This is very pub spec, the sort of analysis that I'm doing. Very, very pub spec. You can see that this looks like some sort of radar systems here. And actually, something that I'd noticed about Russian cosmodromes is that they utilize rail networks a lot more than the ones in the United States. In the United States, man, there's no rail systems. And you'll see every place we go, there's really extensive rail networks. And I think it's because how remote all these places are to move all the goods and the heavy machinery and the rockets. A rail network is probably just the easiest way to do it. That's my guess. But this is Baikonur in Kazakhstan, built in 1955, and the oldest and still operational spaceports or cosmodromes, if you're Russian, in the world. So really, really cool. That's Baikonur. And man, I'll tell you what, every one of these things that I'm looking at, hard to say the name. I'm doing my absolute best to say the names, but you better believe I'm going to butcher a few of them, right? And speaking of, let's try not to butcher the next one. We're going to go all the way over here to Vostochny. Vostochny sounds like a vodka brand. And this Vostochny is new. All right, this is new as. This was built, I believe this is built in like 2016. So, um, really, really new place here. And this is Putin's little brainchild. This is his love project. He wanted this thing to be, as current as anywhere in the US. And I think you can see by just the infrastructure that it is, right? This is Vostochny Cosmodrome in the east of Russia. And you can see they've got the Z here. That's the military symbol. And V for Vostochny, one would presume. But again, look at this. They utilize these big rail networks. It's rail networks everywhere, and that's actually roads. That's a bad example, but there are rail networks at all these places. But actually, this doesn't even look like it has rail networks. Maybe I'm making that up. Yeah, maybe I'm making that up. Let's have a little look around here. Vostochny Cosmodrome. What's this down here? This looks like some sort of like staging. Just like, I guess, like storage facility. And these images are old, right? These images are old. This is from probably 2022, maybe even 2021. And that's a big difference between the United States, the facilities in the United States and the facilities in Russia, is that they're so secretive, dude. They're so secretive. Oh, here we go. Here's a rail network. Okay, so this looks like, this is Vostochny Cosmodrome in Russia, and this looks like where they would be launching everything from here, the rockets from. Because you've got this where the rail, you sort of roll up here, boom, 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 and then you drop the rocket into place here. And then these two buildings on the side, these maybe would like lock it in place, or they might just be there for telecommunications. I'm not sure. But every time you see tiles like this, I think to myself, that's like heat resistant tiles, or something to do with like, dispersion of heat. Because you can't just launch a rocket on Earth, right? That would just not work. I think you need to have a special sort of layer underneath to protect. And maybe it actually allows you to get more thrust. I'm not sure. I'm fully making that up. I'm not going to lie. I'm completely making that up. But in my head, that sort of makes sense. Maybe it's something to do with getting more thrust and like less dust and stuff like that. But this is Vostochny Cosmodrome. Super interesting, man. Super interesting. And like you can see that they're building, again, look at this. This is another launch site that they're building here. And the same sort of tiling sort of happening there. Every time you see that, that's going to be where they launch. And look, it's kind of similar. They have this central rail thing coming up the middle. And then this is the loading station here, must be. And then they pop the rockets up and they send them right there. Send it. They send them off to space. Let's zoom out a little bit. That's Vostochny. And actually, Kim Jong-un visited Vostochny a couple years ago with Putin. He actually went there and checked it out. So old Kimmy boy having a bit of a look around. Let's have a look next at, let's go to Kapustin Yar. And this is hard to find. This is a really, really secretive area. Okay, this is Kapustin Yar in Russia. And I've marked out 3 sites here. And I've done my own research. And I believe that these are areas that are currently under development. And you can see here they've got this rail thing here and this central tower. I believe this could be used for some sort of launch. This is a launch facility. And there's so many of these different ones around here, right? Let's just zoom out. Let's check. I've marked a couple on the map here. That's one of them. And check this one out here, actually. This is another interesting one. This one, to me, looks like some sort of ICBM site because they have this little square here. And this looks like some sort of like relic from the past. Maybe this is Cold War, World War II, Cold War sort of missile site. And in Russia, there's a lot of crossover between what's currently happening and what happened in the past. All right, there's no real difference between government and private industry. It's very blended. That's a big difference between Russia and the United States, right? There's no like SpaceX over there. There's no Blue Origin. It's Russian. It's state-sponsored activity most of the time. And if it isn't, there's private companies launching satellites, but they are far less removed from the Russian government than they would be in, say, the United States, right? Everyone's very in cahoots with each other. And because of that, everything's super secretive. Because at the same time that these places would be used to launch satellites, they'd probably also get used to launch missiles as well. Nuclear missile testing would happen at places like this. Intercontinental ballistic missile testing would also happen at places like this, as well as launching satellites. So that's why none of these images, like this image is from 2018. Man, they've throttled these images from 2018. You can't even tell what they're doing out here. So it's a very, very secretive area. And you can see, you keep finding these little sites out here. You can just keep finding more and more little sites. And these are all little testing facilities or little launch sites. This is all military, right? This is all military. This whole area is all military. And if we just zoom out here a little bit and we go over here to a little town called, this is Kapustin Yar here. This is Kapustin Yar. And in World War II, this area was top secret area. There was a lot of weapons testing that happened over here, biological weapons testing. This was almost like a closed off city, as I believe. It was like a closed off city. And it was only like after the war that, all these sort of stories came out about this area, things that happened. But if you want to read more about that, I'm not the guy to tell you all these stories because this is very one-dimensional analysis. We're just doing a little bit of a fly around on Google Earth here. This is stuff you can talk to your mates at the pub about, but that's pretty much where it ends, right? That's pretty much where it ends. Let's just zoom out here and let's just check out another place. And let's go right up. Let's go right up to Plesetsk. This is Plesetsk, and this is the most northern launch site that they have in Russia. This is actually only 200 kilometers from the Arctic Circle. So it's really, really close to the Arctic Circle. And this is a modern site. This is a very, very modern site, Plesetsk. Excuse me, I'll just get my notes up here. This used to be a ICBM site. So this used to be a military site. And then it's kind of been brought up to, developed in a way that it can launch space missions as well. But originally, a military site. They chose this site in the north of Russia because it's largely uninhabited up here in Russia, in the north of Russia. There's not many people live up here. So, if something goes wrong or debris fall back down to Earth, it's not going to injure civilians. It's not going to do any damage. But look at this. This looks like a main area this is Plesetsk Cosmodrome in Russia. And this looks like a main sort of development area where you can see these rail networks that run into these buildings. So this is where they'd be building rockets, buildings like spaceships and things like that, satellite technology, weapons manufacturing. This would all happen here in these buildings. And then the launch sites are actually over here. This is where they'd be launching all that material from. So it's pretty close nearby. You can see that they build it and then they launch it. And then over here, if we zoom in on this again looks like another one of those sites here. You can see that there's sort of housing stations, housing sort of stations. And then they have these rail networks, always have these rail networks. And then actually look at this. This is sick. This is a really clear launch site here in Plesetsk in Russia, in the north of Russia. And look at that. You can tell they're just staging everything here. And then look at this site, man. Look at that site. You can actually see this must be the rail, the specialty built sort of carts that they use to transport the missiles on. And then they prop them up there on this sort of central area. Man, that's actually a really high definition image. This is probably the most high def that we've got in this whole episode because everything's so secretive, dude. Everything's so secretive. Hard to find out information. Super hard to find out information. We've got one more to look at here. This is going to be a shorter video. That's Plesetsk Cosmodrome. We're going to go to Yasny. And this is right down here. Again, near the Kazakh border. And this is Yasny site. Let's just zoom in on here. And this site, I believe, actually more private industry use this site. So there's some military use of this site, but I believe that this is also utilized for private industry, people launching satellites. And you can see that there's these little launch sites. This is such an old image, I'm not going to lie. This feels like it's still under construction. So we can't really ascertain too much from this image, but you can still tell that this is the makings of somewhere that's going to be, a bit of a big center. What's this down here? I don't know, maybe this is a little, there's not much going on down here. But yeah, that's Yasny. Yasny's kind of boring, dude, not going to lie. Yasny's not one of the bigger ones. I think my favorite, Plesetsk and Vostochny, it's definitely the most modern, definitely the most interesting sites, dude. Definitely the most interesting sites. But that's Russian Cosmodromes. It's a short episode. Just wanted to give it, because we did one on the US, and I know a lot of people will be interested. We'll do one on China as well. I think we'll do US, we'll do Russia, we'll do China. Those are like the big three. And then I think we'll maybe in the future we could look at some other stuff, maybe in Europe. But for right now, thanks so much for watching Russian Cosmodromes, and I'll catch you on the next video. See ya.